got stuck. Okay, I want you to physically do a series of lines. I'm sorry, a series of points. A point, 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 a lot of points. And your horizon line is really a series of points, except for the points are like real close together, little dots. Like on your computer screen, it's just a bunch of little dots. And all across your page, going off the page as far as you can, I want you to just dot, 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 dot. And we're going to call this our horizon line. And I want you to be aware that when you go outside and you look at the horizon line goes all the way around you, doesn't it? Like if you turn 360, you see the horizon line go all around you. So in reality, this horizon line just keeps going and would go off my page. Many times I have to go off my page with that horizon line, and we will see why. So if this was like everything I could see, and I took my cell phone camera, I might just see, draw yourself a cell phone viewfinder. Like I can move my cell phone any place to take a picture, right? And I want you to over here put a line that's off of that. And just like we have been doing, I'm gonna have a building here. I'm gonna just do a straight line here for my building. And maybe I will just, here's my vanishing point. I'm gonna draw a line here. And maybe if I'm tall, let's say the building, I hope you have space. Let's say the building, like with my cell phone, I'm so close I can't capture the whole building. Like this is my cell phone camera viewfinder. And I'm only looking at part of the landscape. So this might be my building. Like my building might be like that. And my cell phone won't catch all of the buildings. Does that make sense when I say it like that? Yes? Yeah. And so let's say that the other side of the building, that I see more of the other side of the building. So choose a random point over here and find it. And then let's do that. And it looks to me like that building is taller than my cell phone viewfinder. And so I realized that my cell phone is probably looking at the first story of it. So I'm going to then say, if I'm standing on the ground, this is 5 feet, that's 5 feet. Let me make a door. And so let's just like add some features in 2-point perspective. So I might have a doorway here. And I'm going to put some windows over here. The end of my building is outside my binder. So here's a window, and here's a window. Now the door, let me change colors so you can see it better. The door here goes in. Like I want to walk in the door. So if the door goes in, I use this vanishing point. So draw yourself a step from the door and make it go towards that vanishing point. In other words, this will be the angle of the doorway. What did I do wrong? It's so funny when I draw and I screw it up. I'm talking and I'm not drawing it right. What did I do? Nope, that's right, how the door goes. It's just a weird angle to it. There we go, there's a door. There we go, there's a door jam. Don't you love it when your teacher screws up too? Let's put a welcome mat. I'm having a problem making that open. I'm looking at it from a weird position. Let's make a welcome mat. So what I'm going to do here is the welcome mat is in front of this door. So it's going to follow this line. So I'm going to put a line here. I realized what I just did that screwed me up. This vanishing point is way too close, and so it's making some weird shapes for me. The welcome mat lines up with this wall. Like this side of the welcome mat goes that way. So we're going to use that same line and come in here for a welcome mat. And excuse me if my lines bend. I'm leaning away from this drawing so that you can see what I'm doing. And I am getting what's called a parallax problem. I can't see the angles accurately because I'm looking at it at an angle. So I hope that doesn't screw you up. If I wanted this to be a little taller, I would simply follow the same lines, right? So if there's a base on the house here, this one goes this way. And why don't we, while we're, just sketching this in, put a crossbar on the window. So that means that the window would have a line going through it this way. I know that that's the angle, but if there's an up and down line, these get smaller as they go back. So that up and down line is actually the center of this one is here. I just made an X. The center of the next window is here. I did it right here. The center of this window is here. It will not be in the measured center. It will be the center in perspective. So that's why you want to do that X. For example, if this is the side of the building and I wanted to make sure I have that window in the center, which I don't think I do, I would, if I wanted to be real accurate, make an X on the side of the building. And this would be exactly, wasn't too far off, where the center window would go. Do you happen to remember what we did with the fence post? Let's just, I'm going to come down here. Make yourself a note here underneath. Okay? We had a horizon line, and I said if I had a fence post here that was going back in space, and it's like, well, I can eyeball that this fence post is here. And these fence posts are going back regularly. The mantra chant is top of the first through the middle of the second to find the bottom of the third. Top of the first to the middle of the second to find the bottom of the third. I'm sorry about the logging trucks going by. It's better than me dropping out. Top of the first to center of the second to hit the third. And you just, do that and you'll get perfectly them going back in space. Remember that? Yeah. When you come to your windows, if I have a whole bunch of windows, like those city scenes that we saw, another thing I can do is go from the top of the first window through the middle of the second to find the bottom of the third, top of the first, second, third. So, like if Mariana wanted to do multiple windows on a building, she could then come here and go to the top of this window, through the middle of the second window, and she would find the bottom of the third window if this building kept going. And sometimes that's a little easier than finding your perspective lines. It's just top of the first, the middle of the second, to the bottom of the third. And whether it's windows that you're measuring or telephone poles, that works. Okay, I just messed that up a lot, didn't I? So here's the next thing. How are you guys doing? Good? Following? Yeah. Okay. Notice how I could move my cell phone, right? And so now what I want to do is, what if you had, what if the road wasn't going straight back? What if the road was, going at an angle, like you were going down the road and you can take a left-hand turn, right? So my cell phone picture, that's on the same horizon line, move our cell phone window and give us a panoramic view. We're going to take a panoramic shot this time. So I'm going to make a bigger one. And I'm going to make two buildings that are not lined up. It could be two buildings not lined up. It could be a building and a car parked differently. I'm going to do a building and a car parked differently just to show you, but these are things that aren't lined up. So I'm going to start outside my picture. Here's my horizon line. I'm going to choose a vanishing point here for the first thing, and I'm going to put a vanishing point here for the second thing. And this time I'll make the building fit inside my cell phone, viewfinder. So I'm going to say I've got a road. These are all points, right? Multiple points. I've got a road that does this. Just for an idea, okay? And I've got a building that's not exactly facing the road, but it's kind of at a cool angle to the road. And so I'm going to have my, the left side of the building goes to the left vanishing point. Now, I would put, if I was not drawing for the camera, I would actually put those vanishing points further away. I'm having to put them a little close for demonstration. Then I'm going to put this vanishing point for the right side of the building. So my building looks really little because my vanishing points are really close. So it's slightly at an edge. And I'll put a big plate glass window in here. I'm just, filling it in so that I get the idea that this building has some openings in it. Here's I'll put a sign on it. It's a restaurant. Now, let's say I've got a car over here, or an object over here, and it's parked at a weird angle. So now I'm going to choose any other vanishing points. Choose two different vanishing points. Like I'm going to choose a vanishing point here and a vanishing point way out here. Just two of them. And the edge of the box, I'll just say, is there. And I'm changing my vanishing points because they are not all lined up. They're at different angles. So what happens here is that you get things that are, moving at different angles. And actually, like when you look at my, things are not lined up. They're all different angles. Each one of these objects, if it's not, hold on, I'll show you. Sometimes studio, you're doing totally different stuff. If buildings line up like this, they will share the same vanishing point. If something goes like this or like this, and your buildings are turned in different directions, they will have their own unique vanishing points. So sometimes on 2-point perspective, if they're just not lined up somehow, this has 2 points and that has 2 points. And you might have to look for that in your photograph. Now, can you figure out how to make a car out of that purple box? Like here's the side of the car. So I'll put a wheel here and here. And then here's this side of the car, like it's got a curve to it. I think it's going to be a school bus. And then where it comes down here, I'm going to make it stick out some. Yeah. Line, line. Straight up and down, straight up and down. The right side of the hood goes that way. The right side of the bumper goes that way. The left side goes this way. And I now have a really weird looking truck with a drunk driver on it. He's a semi, he's got extra wheels. So here's my headlights. See, windows. Obviously, I'm not a car designer. That's a good thing. But, you know, one of the things I want you to think about is, can you then not just do squares in perspective, but, you know, all this is finding what's the top of the car, what's the bottom of the, you know, side of the car. Does that work for you? So we're just building on this a bit. Now, you know, we talked before, one of the things, I guess, we were talking about the trees in Mariana's drawing. She would also then have maybe, you know, trees can go in perspective as well. So it's worth it not to get too stuck on just rectangles in perspective, you know? If you have multiple 2-point perspective things going on, it really adds much more interest to your piece. And I think the difficulty is just finding those things in perspective, you know, just finding where the perspective lines are. Let's pretend like let's do some shadows, and let's pretend like as I'm looking through my viewfinder that this, just for our purposes, this is east and this is west, which means the sky rises in the east and sets in the west. At noon, I don't have many shadows. I'm going to say, just for the heck of it, that right now the sun is at over here, and I'm thinking the sun was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The sun is on the west. You can really get into being serious about shadows, but really most of the time people, if they see something dark on the ground, it works as a shadow. Here's a cool trick. In order to get shadows from perspective, draw yourself a sun outside of the cell phone picture plane, just somewhere over there that's enough so that you're not getting moonlight. Now, draw a line directly from the sun down to the horizon. Because somewhere, might be 4 o'clock in this imaginary landscape, but somewhere it's noon. Right here, all the shadows would disappear because it's noon. It'd be underfoot. take the sun, draw a line down. Now draw from the sun where let's see, if the sun is at high noon and shadows disappear under your feet, that's the disappearing vanishing point for shadows, right? So now draw a line here that goes to the bottom of the car, whatever's going to block it. And I'm imagining the other side of the car. And like I say, people will believe a general thing that you tell them. You don't have to have, you can fudge it a lot on this. Now, so now I have the direction of the shadows. These shadows are going to go this way if the light's over here, meaning these are where the shadows are. Now remember, you're not shading around the truck. The ground is flat. It goes back and forth. So the shadow does this flat on the road. The thing is, when I start doing this, it's like, how long is that shadow? Where does the shadow end? To find where the shadow ends, the sun radiates out, right? Like little sun rays. Draw yourself a sun ray that's traveling through space and just hits the bus and hits right there. The sun ray is going through space, hitting that bus right here. Now, the bus is getting the sun on the top, but this part is not getting the sun. This is where the shadow stops. So, drop a line from the sun, do perspective lines to find the angle of the shadow, and then come down here, and you'll hit where the shadow will end. Where those lines cross, that's where the shadow will end. I'm going to try that on the building. So I'm going to take this line from the sun, and I'm going to shoot over here, and I see that this building is here. And then I'm going to imagine the other side of the building, you could draw it in, but the other side of the building is going to be way back there somewhere. The top of the building, man, this whole, see when I do this and it hits the top of the building like this, that means that this whole side of the landscape is going to be in shadow. The building is going to put a shadow. This whole thing will be shadow because the building will be casting a long shadow going in that direction. And, you know, if you can figure it out, base of the sun to the base of the tree. Top of the sun to the top of the tree. So this tree is, this tree will have a very long shadow. And you can so fudge that. I mean, basically, even if this top line to get the bottom of the sun to the bottom of the object to get the angle of the shadow, you can even not do top of the sun to the top of the middle, I mean the ray of the sun to the top of the object to here. You can even not do that. And if you just have the shadows going in the right direction, even if they're short or inaccurate, people will believe it. It's really this line that's most important to get your shadows in perspective. Kind of a cool effect, isn't it? Yeah. Let's try another theme before I move on. I realize I am a little bit jumping around. I would rather you hear how an artist thinks about perspective and kind of just get the feel for it rather than be too much of a formula. for it. So I'm kind of going like, look, here's how I think about it. Here's the lines I'm looking for. So rather than being like a tutorial, which you can get online, would you please draw a light bulb on a stand? And make that light bulb shine. And I'll put that light bulb, like it's a lamp that I've taken the cover off of. And over here and around the lamp, I have randomly placed some oranges or pool balls or circular objects, because I want to show you how this happens with circular objects. Okay, here's the light. If this was the sun, you go straight down to the horizon line. So you go from the light to the base of the light. Make yourself some perspective lines going like this. That's the angle this is going to go in. So this ball would have an angle going that way of the shadow. This one would have an angle going that way of the shadow. I'm imagining these have like a base. All I'm doing is drawing lines out from the base of the light to the base of the spheres. I'm going to choose this one. I go to the center of the light. Light ray goes boom, 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 hits it here. Boom, 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 hits it there. This is the shadow of that in perspective. I go to this one at the top. This has a little shadow. These videos, this part of the video, I'll post for you guys to just review it, because Mariana made the very good point last time that, you know, this goes by kind of fast and you're listening and drawing and get absorbed in, you know, your own drawing. And then it's like, what the heck did she say? But that can be kind of fun to play with as you develop it. So, you know, this one is, I get rid of the lines and then start just doing edges and values, it'll pop into 3D really quickly. I mean, I don't even have to do much to make you think it. Oh yeah, they're spheres. The illusion comes out pretty quickly when you soften up those lines. See, so what I am doing here is getting rid of the lines and creating edges of light and dark to bring the illusion out. And I'm just using the lines kind of to place where they are on the flat sheet of paper. And then it's the color and shapes that will make it have dimension. You know, Mariana, for what you're interested in, I think that there's something to be said for the when you do the kind of drawings that I think you're interested in, Mariana, where you have line drawings of buildings, there's something very elegant and beautiful about taking a flat line and making it seem 3D. It's as though, like, if everything looks super realistic, the illusion is very complete. But when I might draw something with lines on it, and I make different choices in my lines, there's something intriguing about, I see a flat line, but that flat line also looks like a building. So having the combination can be interesting. Mariana, did that make sense to you? But there's a thing called line quality, and the line quality can be just as important. No, she's there anymore. Okay. I want to show you some weirdness just because we're artists and weirdness is intriguing. I have to flip my paper while you guys draw. And am I
Excuse me.
already at the end? Yeah. Hello, Mariana.
Hello. I forgot that I have my microphone. So, um,
Mariana, while they're drawing, other people are drawing. We're almost at the end, and we'll show you just one other thing. Let me move my camera around so that you can see. Um,
when you were explaining about this lines, I
yes,
mean the edges, like um highlighting the edges, something like that.
I think that, okay, so there's something called line quality, like the type of line you're using. And when I draw like this as a building, it is obviously lines and not, it is obviously the illusion of 3D, right? And so I might have some lines like this, and then I might say, I'm not going to draw a whole building, but I might say, this is brick, for instance. Maybe I'll have one or two. Excuse me for this looking very rough, Mariana. I don't want to spend a lot of time, when I don't have to put the details in, but it would be like, oh, this might be wood grain, or this might be cobblestone, right? And then this might be vegetation or a tree, and this might be grass. Well, and this, let me just do one more to really make a point. Not fully, I'm actually doing yoga to show you this, bending over. And then this might be cloud here. So when you are doing this, which I think you are interested in, Mariana, I do have the perspective, but I am using the lines because I am kind of showing the viewer the structure. And there's something really beautiful about saying, yes, this is a two-dimensional line, but I'm creating a three-dimensional effect. Much like in architecture, if you're looking at a floor plan, and in your mind, you can build the floor plan. In this, you're not creating a complete illusion. You're allowing the viewer to fill in the illusion a little bit. So like if I have a brick here, I have some trees here, there's a real elegance, they call it, in a line, like the way this texture plays against this line. So this is very Renaissance painting, realism. This is an interpretation because it's flat, it's not 3D, it's on paper, so I'm interpreting it. And there can be a beauty in how somebody interprets it instead of how a camera would interpret it. So, Mariana, you might want to look up line quality. It's a very important graphic element. I'm going to show you one thing real fast, okay? This is a quick doodle, 2 minutes. I won't go over if I can help it. If you have a horizon line and you have a point above the horizon line, even if you have 2 points above the horizon line, I'm going to make another point over here, and you make something go to the points that are above the horizon line, it will look like the thing is floating. So like if you wanted to make a UFO or you wanted to make a floating building, this, because the points are above the vanishing, the horizon line, will look like it's floating. And then it can be kind of cool because if I then make a shadow on the ground that has the same perspective, it looks like that floating object is casting a shadow. So if clouds float, I guess a building could float a little bit, but if you want things to float off the ground, it can be kind of fun. And if the vanishing points are just slightly above the horizon line, it'll look like it's just slightly floating. Like even if I do this, at first it looks like on the ground, but in reality, because it's floating, I'm thinking Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz with the building floating. So because the building has vanishing points slightly above the horizon line, that to me makes it look like it's floating. Likewise, if you want to dig a grave that goes down in the ground, or you want to do something like something that descends into the ground, if you put vanishing points under the horizon line, let's say I've got this here and this here. Okay, what the heck am I doing? Yeah, sorry. I just had a dirt moment there. Okay, my vanishing points are too close to the, there, duh. Your teacher's so tired. This will look like it's sinking into the ground, okay? I'm so zoomed out, I can't even think. So this looks sunken. And you can create, seriously, I'm gonna confuse you, I'm sorry. There, now it looks like there's gonna be a hole in the ground. You can play with it. I'm just saying that the vanishing points, if the objects are on the ground, the vanishing points will be on the horizon line. But if you lower those vanishing points or raise them up, if I had a house that was lifting up in a tornado, I could put one vanishing point here, one vanishing point here, make it seem like the horizon line is lifting up like that. And if I build something like this, it looks like it's lifting off the ground, which is why I was like, you want to do a fantasy thing, because it can be really useful to break rules. I'm going to make something look sunken. I'm going to make it look like it's floating. I'm going to make a building look like it's going up in a tornado. So buildings don't have to be on the ground. Okay, as usual, I'm 3 minutes over. I try not to do